This may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think our country is collapsing, at least not in the way a lot of these doomer videos would want you to believe. Recently, I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube lately um, that are thumbnailed with somebody who either looks shocked, depressed, angry, whatever the case. And the video is usually titled something along the lines of America's going to collapse or everything's collapsing. And I know why these types of videos get so many views because, yes, things definitely do feel bad right now, and they feel bad for a lot of people. But despite what the title or thumbnail says, I hate to break it to some people, but it's not it's not collapsing. It's just not. At least not in the way these videos want you to believe. We're not going to we're not going to see some Hollywood style collapse here where over the course of a weekend or a week everything just completely falls apart and everybody's at each other's throats and your people are raiding the local neighborhood grocery store. And I'm not saying this to be all doom and gloom either. I'm just pointing out a reality. And I'm also not saying that just because somebody's stuck in a shit position right now means they're always going to be in that shitty position. In fact, there's really only two scenarios I can think of where you might get some Hollywood style collapse, and that's either a massive solar flare comes and knocks down the power grids across the planet, or nuclear war. And the only one of those two scenarios that I actually see as a possibility is the solar flare. But anyways, there is no collapse. There's no collapse happening. I think what's actually happening is a lot more boring and probably a lot worse than that. I think the more appropriate word for what's happening would be erosion, I guess, because erosion doesn't happen quickly. You know, erosion, like the kind of erosion we're talking about here, takes generations. This bullshit that these doomer channels are describing, if it's real at all, I mean, it's happening on a time scale so long that none of us, not one person watching this video, is going to be around to see the after. Because really, I don't in this scenario, I don't think there is an after. It's just going to be more of the same, slowly, forever bullshit until you die, and then your kids inherit a worse version of it, and then their kids inherit a worse version of it. I mean, that's the timeline here. It's not going to be some panic-inducing collapse. It's just going to be a long, slow grind. And maybe that's what probably scares people a lot more than these videos is because if you really just sit with it for a second and think about it, I mean, when you hear the word collapse, I mean, that's something you can prepare for. People, you can buy your freeze-dried foods and stack your beans and bullets and actually feel like you're doing something. But it's much harder to prep your way out of a scenario where things just get 1% worse every year for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years or whatever the timeline is. Like there's no bunker for that scenario because at that point it's just life. I mean, things are going to feel bad for the next several decades in this country and probably a lot of other countries as well. So I guess I want to talk about what's actually going to happen because I think it's a little bit more useful than screaming everything's going to collapse into the camera. Because we all know the cost of living is going to continue to keep going up because the entire system has basically been optimized for decades to squeeze a little bit more out of you every single year. And it doesn't matter what some politician tries to tell you or what magical policy they're trying to get passed, whatever bullshit they say when they're trying to get reelected. Because rent, groceries, insurance, everything you need for basic life is just going to continue to go up. Your wages are going to continue to stagnate. And even if they do go up, it's not going to be nearly enough to keep up with inflation. So that gap between what you make and what things cost, that gap's going to always continue to get larger. It's never going to get smaller. Again, I don't care what anyone tells you. Um, all this talk about raising minimum wages and reducing work weeks down to 32 hours while keeping pay the same, none of that shit's going to happen. It's all bullshit. That gap between what things cost and what you make has been the story for the last 40 years, and I don't see any reason. Like, I don't see any reason at all for that to just magically reverse course now. So, a lot of people are going to continue to work these jobs, these shitty, soul sucking jobs where you give 50 to 60 hours of your one and only life to a company that would replace you next week if you died. I mean, hell, a lot of these companies will replace you even if they can find somebody who has less experience but will do your same job for less pay. I mean, and like I said, a lot of people are going to continue to work these bullshit jobs because the only alternative for most people is homelessness, which, I mean, that's another thing you can count on for the next few decades is that homelessness is going to continue to keep going up. And no one with the power to fix it is actually going to fix it because it's not costing them anything. Because one thing that these doomer videos tend to skip over is who exactly is it collapsing for? Because I can promise you it's not for the people at the top. Their portfolios, they're just fine. Their kids are fine. Their second houses are fine. I mean, a lot of these companies right now are turning out record profits. So they're probably, enjoying a nice accumulation of assets in their world. So in their world, everything is just fine. Meanwhile, everyone else just gets to watch a slightly worse version of their life every year. And the fucked up part about all these panic videos is, for the people at the top, it's not a warning for them. If anything, it's probably entertainment. Someone out there making 7 or 8 figures a year isn't losing sleep over some YouTube video with a few million views telling everyone that the country's collapsing. I mean, fuck, they're not even watching these videos. And even if they are, it's probably funny to them. They might even be sending it to the little friend groups. Say, hey guys, look at all the fucking poors out here complaining because they ain't got no money. Because in their view, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly the way it was built to work. By grinding everyone else down just a little bit more each year while more and more money continues to flow to the top. Anyways, I'm sure a lot of these creators, they actually believe what they're saying. I'm not saying it's all cynical, but the collapse language is pretty annoying because I think it's turning a slow, deliberate, decades-long squeeze into some abstract event like it's a fucking hurricane or something. Because when you hear the word collapse, I feel like that implies that nobody is steering this ship, and I can promise you there is somebody steering this ship right now. There always has been. So no, I don't have any neat little solutions for you here. I'm not going to sit here and give you 3 things you can do to fix the system because you can't. I don't mean to be a buzzkill or anything like that, but there isn't going to be some dramatic event that just makes everything all of a sudden make sense or even make it all better. Nobody's going to come save us from all the bullshit. The only thing coming is just more of exactly what you're living through right now. It's just going to get a little bit heavier each year.